this past week, the tech industry, big tech companies, they've all been affected with massive layoffs. Now, this is Games Point Blank, and here we talk about the games point blank. So, the recent news is 343 Industries was affected heavily by these layoffs, and we're going to talk about what that means for Halo Infinite and the future of the Halo series. So the reports say that the story team for 343 Industries was heavily affected by these layoffs, and that led to the departure of Joseph Staten, who was supposed to be the savior of Halo Infinite. We're going to talk about what this means for Halo Infinite and Halo itself.
I only have one thing to say. It's about time. 343 has been a disaster for Halo. Each game has gotten worse since they took over. And it's sad people lost their jobs. You know, nobody ever wants that. But in terms of the games, it's only one way from here, and that's up.
We saw this coming for a long time. 343, ever since Halo 4, they did a good attempt at a Halo game. It was their first foray. We had a lot of big hopes. Halo 5 came, and that kind of took a turn for the worst. The hype was real, the hype was huge, but ultimately the game just ended up lacking in certain areas. And then Halo Infinite, the end of the trilogy, the last hurrah, the game that was supposed to save the Xbox Series X, came out, and as a beta, it was great for 2 to 3 weeks. And then reality set in, and it was ultimately a disaster. Stories started coming out that it was development hell, all these issues plaguing it. Multiplayer was terrible. And here we are.
I just want to interject right here. The multiplayer was not terrible. The multiplayer was far from terrible. The support for the multiplayer was what was terrible.
To add to that, the issues with multiplayer is what made the game not viable from a competitive standpoint. So much desync issues, so much disconnections, so many matchmaking issues with finding games in big team, finding games in general. There was a lot of issues, and still till this day, desync issues plague that game. That's not good for a game that's supposed to be a pro competitive game and have pro gamers playing at the highest level.
Yeah, it really makes me sad what happened with Halo Infinite because, as the two of you know, I played a lot of Halo 4. I played a lot of Halo 5. I played a lot of Halo the Master Chief Collection. I must have beaten those campaigns 2 or 3 times alone from the Master Chief Collection, not from the original releases. Like, I love Halo. I play Halo all the time. And Infinite, I have 160 hours in Halo Infinite. I played that game a lot, and I was so finished with Halo Infinite by the time it got to season 2. It really makes me sad because I stuck with every single one of those Halo games 343 put out, and Halo Infinite broke me. I want nothing to do with that game anymore.
You hear that, Xbox? A broken man. The thing that killed Halo for me was the multiplayer. Because, obviously because I didn't play the campaign, but the multiplayer, the focus on the battle pass and how you gain experience and the bounties were the worst. Obviously, they were so counterintuitive for the game. They made the game not fun. Having to kill with certain weapons that you barely got ever, because other people would get it first, things like that. You can't make bounties like that in that type of game. So it seems that Bonnie Ross and upper management at 343 only cared about monetizing this game. They made the developers make a game they didn't want to make, and it pretty much killed the PvP. So, good riddance to Bonnie Ross, good riddance to 343. Hopefully, your boy Stanton heads up a new division in Microsoft. Maybe that's why he was kept on board, so he could build a team in his image and bring Halo back to glory.
So a few different things. I agree completely. I think Halo needed a new direction. I think given this last Halo Infinite, which is kind of the end of a trilogy of Halo games for 343, I think it was about time that they ended up taking a back seat. I don't think a lot of people were happy with the 343 Halo games, and I think it's a great decision that now, although they will be taking on a parental role and letting other third-party studios get a crack at the Halo franchise. I'm not too sure about the parental role aspect, but I get it. You know, they've been making these Halo games for a decade now, so they will be the best to give advice. But I'm kind of excited to see third-party studios trying to take a crack at it. I think it's going to be exciting and fresh new takes on the franchise, even if the game is on a smaller scale.
I hope that's why Joseph Staten went back to the publishing team. So hopefully in that division, he will oversee whoever is going to be the next developer of the next Halo game, whatever that might be. And him being in the publishing side, he can kind of, like mold it into the way it needs to be with somebody else instead of having to be tied to 343, which clearly was a sinking ship.
The third-party games covering Halo, they said multiple Halo games. That kind of scares me a bit because all I think about is Halo Wars and that crappy arcade and whatever else other Halo game came out that nobody cared about. So I hope it's not another situation like that where it's just games that you don't want to play.
You mean you weren't excited for Halo Spartan Assault, the top-down shooter on Xbox Live Arcade that was a hit? That game sold, baby.
Of course it sold. It swindled people.
And then part 2 that had 2-player because for whatever reason, part 1 only had 1 player. So then they were like, let's throw in multiplayer, baby. Cash cow.
It was an excuse to have a Halo game at the launch of the Xbox One. That's what that was. And it was not good. Going back to the actual status of Halo Infinite, right? They said that what's left of 343 is going to be focusing on the multiplayer. And they're saying that that the roadmap for 2023 is going to continue as planned. Here's the thing about the roadmap for 2023. There is no roadmap for 2023. The only thing they've ever announced is season 3 in March. And we're going to go over what's in season 3 right now. So you get the custom games browser, which I believe they already put in, that they stealth released that over Christmas. There's a new narrative event, whatever that means. In-game reporting, something that every multiplayer game has when they launch. So 2 years after launch, they're going to have in-game reporting. Update to the Forge beta. VIP and escalation modes are now being added. Yay, 2 new modes. Quality of life improvements. A new Fractured event? Sure. 2 maps, which is going to bring the game to having a whopping 14 maps. That's it. There's nothing after that. So who knows what's going to be next?
What we do know is that campaign, or at least the rumors are that the campaign DLC that was planned has been scrapped, along with all those shifts in layoffs and changes to the studios. I know that there's no more plans for campaign. At least that's the rumors that are going on. So that's a good thing in terms of the multiplayer, because now the team that's in multiplayer can focus on that. But it's a terrible thing because that's pretty much putting the nail in the coffin, saying we're not going to support this game long term. We're not going to continue and thinking that this is the main Halo breadwinner that we assumed it to be. That 10-year plan that they had initially for Halo Infinite, I think it's done. I think this means that they are going to start developing the next iteration of what the Halos are, even if it's that. What's that first step in game development? Pre-production. Yeah. So they're on the pre-production of the next Halo now, or at least rushing to get to that point, because you have this show, right? That's obviously getting a season 2, even though fans are divided in terms of if it's good or bad. You need Halo.
If you liked our content, mash that like button. And if you're new to the channel and want to see more content, hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.